Well, hello, IDS 104 students, and welcome to week 4, module 4 in your IDS 104 course. This week, we are going to be talking about change, goals, and growth, how you can use feedback to help you stay flexible and focused. As always, your experience here at Southern New Hampshire University is important to us. It's our policy and practice to create an inclusive and accessible learning environment. If there are aspects of instruction or course design that present barriers to accessibility, please notify the Online Accessibility Center, the OAC, as soon as possible at 866-305-9430. You can also email them at oac@snhu.edu or visit the Online Accessibility Center website. As a reminder, this team helps students just like you get content in a way that works best for them and their learning style. If you have questions about this, reach out directly to the OAC team. A couple of webinar reminders. As always, these webinars and the learning community and SNHU Connect spaces are always considered academic spaces. This includes your classrooms, this includes SNHU Connect, social and academic sides, and that first year experience YouTube pages. So always be mindful of your conduct. These webinars are not graded or required, but you will learn about how to do assignments from week to week, or we'll go over concepts you're covering in your course. So hopefully you're finding them helpful. And as a reminder, keep an eye on those course announcements in the IDS 104 Learning Community announcement pages for any webinar information, whether they are on demand, which means pre-recorded and ready to rock for you on Monday of the module opening, or if there's any live sessions throughout the term. Remember, live sessions are always recorded and they'll be able to view on that first year experience YouTube page for IDS 104 within 24 hours of that live session ending. So y'all, today we are going to talk about feedback. We're going to talk about the different types of feedback and why it's valuable. We're going to learn to use feedback to strengthen a growth mindset, which we've been talking about growth mindsets for the last 4 weeks. We're going to talk a little bit about understanding goal mapping for personal and academic growth, and we're going to do an assignment overview. This week you have a journal and an activity assignment for week 4, module 4, and both of those are due by Sunday or before is convenient for your schedule. Before we dive into everything week 4, I wanted to just take a minute and pause and say high five. Woohoo! High fives, pat on the back. Y'all, you have reached the halfway point of your term. So our terms are 8 weeks. We're heading into week 4. After this week, you're going to be into the downhill slide of the last half of your term, which is super exciting. So I just wanted to take a minute and tell you, thank you for showing up. Thank you for investing in yourself as you watch these webinars, and just way to keep going day after day. Adding school to an already busy schedule is no easy feat. So take a minute and high five yourself, because we're proud of you, and I sure hope that you're proud of you too. So just a couple reminders of that halfway point. Y'all should always know what your grades are. You hear me talk every week about it's so important to check your course announcements, check your SNHU email, check in those grades, like know what your grade is, know what your progress is. And just remember that you have those resources to help your success too. Connect with faculty if you're stuck or need guidance. Remember to reflect on what's working and what might need adjustment. So what is, think of something that you're proud of this term. Think of something that maybe you might need to work on. Maybe you've done a great job of getting your assignments in from week to week on time, or maybe even early, but maybe you've struggled like with your writing mechanics on your assignment. So maybe it's time to reach out to those SNHU resources and help them just do even better in the classroom. So I want to know from you. So please take a minute when you get a chance. You can email me, or you can send me a message in the IDS 105 learning community. I want to know, what is one success that you have had so far this term? I think it's really important to celebrate those wins along the way. So congratulations on making it to the halfway point. These next 4 weeks, I promise you, go even faster. So hold on tight, check in with yourself. How are things going? What are your grades? Are you missing anything? If you are missing assignments or have struggled or fallen behind, this is the time to reach out to that instructor and make a plan for you to get caught up, okay? So as I mentioned, a lot of this week's topic is on feedback. So why does feedback matter? Feedback is the information we get from others, right? For most of us, when we think about feedback, we think about like at our job, like how we're doing at our job, or maybe we think about, from our partners or our loved ones in our life. They give us feedback about things they think about us or our actions, right? So feedback is important because feedback can help us grow, and feedback can also help us stay flexible. I always love that quote that's out there, and I do not remember the author of it, but the only constant in life is change, right? So we have to learn to be adaptable and be flexible. And we know too that technology is rapidly changing our world every day, especially our jobs, and even our personal lives. So it's really important for us to be able to stay flexible and on top of things, right? So feedback helps us do that. Feedback can also help guide improvement or reinforce habits. So when we're working on something, whether it's maybe in the classroom, like maybe you've struggled with your writing mechanics and you start working with the academic support team, and those grades in that area start to improve, that consistent feedback and your faculty noticing that, or the feedback you're getting from the academic support team, helps to create those new habits and reinforce them along the way, right? Same thing when maybe we're learning like a new computer system or something at work. The more we do it, the more we learn, the better we get, right? So it's really important to understand that feedback is just such a powerful tool that we have to help us be our best selves. And it's really important too for us to consider tone and clarity regarding feedback. So we all know that for most of us, when we get feedback, we want it to be positive, right? But sometimes we might have things to work on. So when that constructive criticism comes into play, how somebody says that to us or the way they describe it or give the details can really make a difference, right? Same with us. If we are the ones giving the feedback, our tone and our clarity can very much so affect how our feedback is received, right? So just some things to kind of think about when you're considering feedback. And I always encourage students to kind of sit back and take a minute and be like, okay, like, how do I feel about feedback? What is the ways that I like to get it? What are some examples of times that I've gotten good feedback and how it's worked out? And also, like, on the flip side, like, what is times where it's not been so great and how did that go? And also, how do I give feedback? I notice more in a professional setting for me, I tend to always give examples of things like, hey, you're doing a great job of this. Hey, this is awesome, but we could improve on this area by doing this, right? And in my personal life with my kids, I'm like, hey, wait a minute, why did you do the dishwasher this way? Right? It's more direct than it is when I'm dealing with somebody professionally. So it's just interesting how we can kind of switch gears. So really just take a minute and think about you and feedback. There's a lot of different types of feedback out there. Some examples, of course, are formal feedback versus informal, or constructive feedback versus like general praise. Okay. So formal feedback is more that, like, think about like a work performance review. That's a great example of formal feedback, right? Another formal feedback can be any kind of like written or like a set meeting about that. Informal is more like, hey, you're doing a great job on this, but like, what about this too, right? Constructive feedback is one that students often kind of forget about, but constructive feedback is most of what your faculty, your professors and instructors are giving you. And that is every week when they grade an assignment, if there's an area that you're struggling on or something that you might be missing on assignment, they're providing you feedback with actionable suggestions like, hey, this is a great sentence, but let's add some more detail, right? Or, hey, you have done a great job on turning these assignments in on time. Let's work on adding some more information, things like that. A lot of times too, general praise is just like when you're working with others, where you have that encouraging, collaborative suggestions and ideas like, hey, awesome job, super great over here. That's just that general thing. So something to always think about is to think about the type of feedback you are giving or receiving and the tone of that feedback that you're giving and receiving. Two really big things to consider. I always love to take a look at like feedback strategies and how we can always be improving, especially when somebody is giving us feedback. We need to kind of sometimes just stop and pause and reflect before we respond, right? Sometimes, especially if it's constructive feedback, we want to be like, oh, but what about this? Or I did this. And like, just wait, stop, pause, and think about it. Pause and reflect before responding. Asking those clarifying questions. Maybe if you didn't get the details and examples that you needed, asking those questions to get that information. And then a lot of times too, especially in a personal situation, we can have a lot of emotion with feedback from others, especially with our loved ones, right? So sometimes we have to take a minute and stop and separate emotion from any actionable steps. But it's really important too to maintain that like curiosity or like ideas that might help you do better and openness, right? So I always love to, When people give feedback, it doesn't have to be like this super long, drawn out written thing or this super long, drawn out conversation, right? You want to give feedback, and how we usually want to receive it also is we want it to be timely. So making sure that if there is something you need to improve upon, right away, not a couple weeks later, right? We want it to be timely. We want our feedback to be specific. Make it brief so it's quick and easy to understand, but useful so that we understand what we're supposed to do with it. Honest, be honest about it, but also have a little bit of positivity in there. Like, hey, I always like to call it like the compliment sandwich. You do a great job of this, but this is something we might need to work on, and here's why. If we do that, it's going to get us to this positive end, right? And also always be kind. I always tell people, we never know what other people are going through or how they might have perceived something we have said or done. And so it's important to just take that minute and remember to be kind too, especially as we're giving and receiving feedback. So, y'all, we have talked a lot this term so far about mindset. We've talked a lot about growth mindset, and we've talked a lot about fixed mindset. What's the difference, why they're important, what we know about them, right? And so I always love this image because it just gives you a quick example of a reminder of what growth mindset and fixed mindset are. Things that they might say when you're in that kind of mindset. So a growth mindset is really about taking feedback and helping it inspire you to learn and make improvement, right? So the effort and attitude you have can determine your abilities, right? Feedback is constructive. You like to try new things. If I didn't do so good at something, tomorrow's another day to try it again, right? Challenges can help me grow. Sometimes in the moment it doesn't feel like it, but having that growth mindset gives you the opportunity and the ability to see things to keep moving forward. Fixed mindset is kind of more of that like negative mindset, right? Where we think like if you're getting feedback, that feedback feels like criticism or judgment, like you didn't do something right, or you're not good at something, or you're not good enough at something. But also sometimes it's our like that little inner voice that gets in our head that is like, I can't do this, or I'm just frustrated and I'm going to give up, or I guess this is just the way that it's supposed to be, like nothing's going to change, right? So that is what those fixed mindsets are. And so think about feedback that you have gotten or you've received that motivated you. What was it like? What was the tone? Was it a growth mindset kind of feedback? Was it fixed mindset kind of feedback? How do you respond to feedback, and what do you want to see moving forward, right? So feedback, of course, ties into our growth, right? The more we learn about ourselves, the more challenged we are, the more open and flexible we are. When we have goals, having those characteristics can help us work to achieve those goals, right? So this week we talk a little bit about goal mapping and the importance of being flexible. So it's really important to think about for all of us, what are some of those personal, academic, or professional goals that we have, but also maybe changes that have happened in our life, right? For some of you, maybe you lost a job. And so now you're back in school looking to do something different that you've always wanted to do. Or maybe you thought that you were going to go to school on campus and live in the dorms. And then all of a sudden that plan changed. And so now you're home and you're doing it online and maybe working, thinking about things and challenges that have come up, but knowing you still have personal, academic, or professional goals that you want to make, right? So what changes have happened? What goals do you have? And how can you work to keep moving forward? So think about goals that you have. Think about what helps you to stay on track towards those goals. Are there certain actionable things that you need to do every day or every week or every month, even every year, to help you stay on track, right? Obviously, all of you are here to get a degree, right? We want to graduate from SNHU and whatever degree. So what are some things that help us stay on track towards that degree? Well, passing our classes is a big deal, right? So we want to pass our classes, but how do we want to pass our classes? Do we want to pass our classes with A's, B's? Are we looking to be on the honor roll or the dean's list? And then what are the things that help us pass those classes? Well, doing our assignments, using our resources, things like that that help us stay on track, right? And it's really important too to know that life can sometimes just be lifing. There is no straight road on the journey to getting your degree or really anything in life. There are detours, there are speed bumps, there are obstacles in the road. And so, how, when we hit roadblocks or things where we have to kind of shift and pivot, how do we plan for those obstacles and learn to overcome them or work through them and continue towards our goals and monitor progress? So, just some things to kind of think about when you think about your goals. Sometimes things don't go the way we thought they were going to. So, how do we pick ourselves back up, or how do we pivot and keep moving forward so that we do achieve those goals? I love some of these ideas, some tools to think about for y'all to stay open minded and flexible. One is some reflection tools. So, a lot of people like to journal or maybe take digital notes to track their thoughts. Like when something happens in their life, like, what can I learn from this? Or like, this happened, this is what I did, this is what I've learned. Another one is feedback. There's feedback again. Those peer reviews or mentor check-ins, if you have those people in your life, this could be professionally, academically, personally, but also too, those structured feedback forms to evaluate things objectively. That's a great example of like when we have work performance reviews. Maybe you're trying to become a manager at your job or to get promoted in some way, shape, or form. And you have your yearly or monthly review, whatever it might be. Those forms and that feedback can help you grow and change some things up, right? Learning and growth tools is just one of my favorites. Those mindset reminders, sticky notes or phone alerts on just like your schedule and what you're doing, but also like, hey, you can do this, or hey, like you're awesome at this, or hey, this is your goal. Remember that. Those growth mindset articles, videos, podcasts, like things that just keep you learning, but also can keep you on track towards your goal and keep you motivated. Organizational tools, y'all, I hear this a lot from students that like they feel like their time management is off kilter a little bit. They feel like they're kind of unorganized or overwhelmed. Well, tools to help us like stay flexible, on track, and open-minded towards things we're working towards are things like implementing those checklists, or implementing like goal trackers or habit trackers, to like, making a schedule for your success, mapping out that SNHU study time, keeping track of the assignments that you have turned in and what you have left, for example, in the classroom. I have students that even tell me too, like, hey, if I get like all my homework done by Friday, then that gives me Saturday to spend with my family. And we do like a pizza and movie night as like a reward. So it keeps the students on track towards their goals as an example, but it also is a reward to keep them motivated to keep going, right? Plus we have, when we're working through things and working on goals, sometimes we come into situations where we're like, oh, which way do I go? What do I do? And that's where those pros and cons lists come in, and those reframing techniques. Like, all right, this is happening in my life. How do I continue to move forward, even though it looks a little bit different than I thought? Plus, you have the power of so many social tools and collaboration options at your disposal, right? In your own classrooms, you have discussion boards where you can get to know your classmates. You also have like study groups that are formed. You have the learning communities in SNHU Connect, and the social communities that are out there that can really help you, especially if you're like, okay, I am this major and I want to do this career. Is anybody else doing this? Or, hey, this is kind of what my life is like right now, and I'm trying to figure out a great plan to get myself organized. Anybody else feel this way? The amount of social interaction and ideas that you can get from that to help you be even stronger and get some feedback and ideas is limitless. It's really pretty cool. Plus, there's also some role-playing exercises for perspective taking that you can take too, to kind of just think about like with your friends and family, or even your colleagues in a professional space with your faculty, like, okay, if I did this, like, how would this look? And let's walk through this together. So the more you can work together, the better and stronger you will be as you work towards those goals. Okay. So I know it's kind of a lot of information, but I just really wanted you to think about feedback, how you receive it, how you give it, what your tone is, the clarity, why it's important, thinking about your big goals and small goals, how you're going to get there, the people and resources that support you in getting there, preparing yourself for obstacles, or if life is lifing and challenges, and how you're going to overcome them. Those will all be things that help support your success. Okay. So as a reminder, this week in week 4, you have 2 assignments. You have a journal assignment. As a reminder, that's popping open a Microsoft Word document. You do get Office 365 for free. as an SNH2 student. If you for some reason don't have that yet, that is how you want to be able to submit those assignments. For your journal assignment, you're opening up that document and just answering the questions. Remember, when you're answering the questions, write in complete sentences, sorry. Use details, use examples. I do have some students too that like to write in more of an essay style. Whatever you're doing, make sure that you just stay relevant to the topic at hand. Make sure you answer all of the pieces and parts of the questions, and make sure you have those details and examples and complete sentences so that your thoughts are fully given. Okay. The activity assignment, again, you have a template. We've had a template before for activity assignments where you open up that Microsoft Word document and you actually just type right in it. So this activity assignment is called like a flexible goal map. Really, it's just you answering the questions that are on the template. You don't have to go create some new document or create something, go create a map per se. But if you want to do that, that's totally fine. You can do that. Just make sure you're still answering all the pieces, parts of the questions, and staying relevant to the topic at hand, okay? Remember, for the template, it is encouraged to use it. It'll help you just pop it open, answer those questions. Again, write in complete sentences, use details, use examples. Both of these assignments are due by Sunday of week 4, module 4, or earlier as convenient for your schedule. Again, as a reminder, you want to have that Microsoft Word or compatible program. You do get that Office 365 for free as an SNH2 student, but it's important to make sure you have Microsoft Word or something compatible. That way, when you submit that assignment to be graded, your faculty can open it and actually take a look at it. Okay, just a reminder before I share the classroom space with you of how to access these IDS 104 webinars. Just some quick links. Remember the webinars. Anytime there's a live session, they're automatically recorded and posted here on this First Year Experience YouTube page for IDS 104 within 24 hours. Anytime they're on demand or pre-recorded, they are fresh and available for you every Monday of the module being kicked off. Okay. Don't forget too, if you need just like some quick reminders, quick assignment help or technical things, we do have the focus videos too for IDS 104. Those are already loaded for the entire term, and you can take a look at those and see if any of those may support your success too. So now what I want to do, again, here's my email, m.shop@snhu.edu, in case you have any questions or want to share with me what is something you're really proud of this term or what's gone well. I love to see those kinds of things. So please take a second if you can, really a couple of minutes, send me a quick email. I always love to hear those. It's just exciting to see your guys' progress and how you are feeling as you navigate your classes here at SNHU. I did want to take a minute and walk you through the classroom for week 4, module 4. So as a reminder, y'all, do not forget to click on those course announcements and run through any reminders, helpful hints, things that your instructor is giving you, and always be checking your university email. Okay, so learning modules, we're in module 4. Remember, scroll down, module 4, click the blue, gets you to where you want to go. Do not forget to review the introduction of your module. It goes over your objectives and kind of what you're covering this week. Always scroll down and arrow over. Y'all should know at this point you have a lot of reading within your module, so make sure that you review the actual module content and reading that is within your modules every single week, okay? Scroll down, arrow over. When it gets to those required resources, remember to review the chapters and certain pages that are listed. Click the blue, it'll open up those textbooks and things or journal articles or whatever they might be right from here. If you ever get stuck on these or have technical difficulties, always reach out to the SNHU help desk. They're wonderful at helping you fix those kinds of things. And then of course, let your instructor know too. Okay, so some great videos this week, all about peer feedback and constructive criticism versus destructive criticism. So some cool things to think about and learn about when we're talking about feedback. All right. So I always encourage students to look at these things. These are some great videos and even some TED Talks that are available for your success this week in helping you understand the course concepts and being able to apply them. Okay. Like I mentioned, you guys we have that journal assignment first and foremost. So that journal assignment this week, as always, click on the overview of it. It'll tell you what you're doing. This week is kind of different. You're actually going to be using a scenario. So in this scenario, you're in your first semester of college, you're in an introductory course focused on digital communication and teamwork, you have a group assignment, and every week you guys kind of change roles a little bit, but this week it was your turn to create and post like your group's information. And after you post this report, you get feedback from a professor. This is what it says. And then you get feedback from a peer. This is what it says. So taking this feedback examples You want to utilize that, and you're going to answer these questions, okay? So using the feedback you got up there that are two different kinds of feedback, you're going to question 1, discuss how you might react to the type and tone of each feedback message. Things to include: what did you notice about the tone of the feedback, and how do you think you might respond if you were given this type of feedback? So remember, there's 2 up here. So you want to look at the professor's feedback, and you want to share, how you might react to the type and tone, like what was it that you noticed about this feedback and how might you respond, and then same with the peer, okay? And then explain which feedback inspires a growth mindset and why. Share your thoughts. Question 3, explain which feedback might reinforce a fixed mindset and why you think that. And then question 4, develop a practical strategy for maintaining a growth mindset when engaging with feedback. So things to think about is like ways you could communicate, how you could keep your emotions in check, or any other feedback seeking behavior as you look at what you were given up here above, okay? Question 5 is a little bit different, and it's that personal reflection, like we've kind of talked about a little bit. Reflect on a time when you received feedback. This can be any type of feedback, and it's not limited to what you've received in school. This could be work, this could be personal, it could be school. And what you want to do is share that situation of what you went through so your faculty member can understand where you're coming from. And then you want to answer what made that feedback effective or ineffective. Okay, remember, complete sentences, share details, share examples. As a reminder, under what to submit, you want to have that journal assignment be about 1 to 2 pages, y'all. It really shouldn't be any longer than that. If you stay on topic and are relevant using details and examples to the questions that are up top, it really, that 1 to 2 pages, especially double spacing and that 12-point Times New Roman font, should be fine. If you go a little bit over, you're not going to be docked points, but let's stay relevant to the topic at hand. I do have some students who have told me, I just have a hard time answering these questions. Sometimes I want to give all the details and information. This is a great time to utilize the academic support team written feedback service if you have not done that yet, because that is an area that the tutor could focus on to help give you support to just make sure that everything is relevant and it has great clarity as you turn in those assignments. As always, don't forget to review the rubric, okay? So that is your journal assignment, again, due by Sunday or before is convenient for your schedule. And then remember, you have an activity assignment, okay? So remember, with this activity assignment, it says that you will create a flexible goal map, which you are going to be talking about those things, but you're using a template to do it, okay? Again, with the template, you just want to make sure that you open up that document, type right in it, answer the questions, use examples, details, stay relevant to the topic at hand. If you want to get creative and create an actual map, go for it. But again, make sure you've answered all of the questions, all the pieces and parts, okay? But this is something that you are using the template to answer the questions, which in tune creates a flexible goal map. But some students are visual learners and they like to create a kind of a creative document. If you want to go that route, that's fine. Check in with your instructor as always, but remember to make sure you answer all the questions and have all the pieces and parts, okay? So underneath what to submit is you'll find the template. So when you click on this module 4 activity template, it'll open up a document that looks like this. Remember, for most of you, when you open it, you might have to click enable editing at the top, and that'll allow you to actually type right in the document, okay? So first and foremost, question 1, identify a personal, academic, or professional change, a change that has happened in your life that you have experienced, or maybe you are currently facing it. And this just gives you a reminder. As a reminder, this change will be the foundation for your flexible goals. So whatever change you're going to share, whatever story or experience you're going to share, make sure you're able to write goals about it too, okay? And then right here is where you'll type that text, okay? So this is where you want to share the situation or the change that you've experienced, all right? And then question 2 is to outline at least 2 goals that support the change you have identified. And you want to consider the following as you draft your goals, okay? So when you look at this, the question is asking you, outline at least 2 goals that support the change you've identified above. So whatever your situation was, you want to think about 2 goals. So let's say, for example, that you lost your job and you've always wanted a degree in history. So you decided that you were going to make a change in your life and you were going to come back to school. Okay. So that's the experience that you're currently in, right? And then let's think about 2 goals that would support that example. Things to think about. Can this goal change based on new information or experiences? Does this goal encourage trying or improving rather than achieving a specific result? Is it written using process-focused, goal-oriented language? Will I revisit the goal and revise it? Does it reflect something real that I am experiencing? Okay, well, the goal is you want to get your degree. Or I'm sorry, the situation is you want to get your degree, but it's also the goal, right? So how am I going to get my degree? Yeah, my degree might change a little bit. I want it in this amount of time. I want to get these kinds of grades. It might change a little bit, but I need steps to hold me accountable to get through to earn my degree. So what are those goals? Okay, write them, share them. And then question 3, what makes a goal flexible? So to you, describe what makes each of those goals that you wrote flexible. And you could think of tools or habits that can help you remain open-minded. We talked about a few of those in today's slide deck. Question 4, discuss one example of an obstacle that might require you to be flexible. So when you're thinking about your goals that you wrote, what are some things that might happen that would maybe create the opportunity for you to pivot or have to change some things or adjust some things, okay? And then question 5, reflect on how you might monitor progress of your goals. So how will you know that you're on track towards it? How will you know that you're doing a good job? How will you know when you might have to change some things or pivot or that you've accomplished it? Okay, so with this, remember, think of a change that's happened in your life, personally, professionally, academically. And then you're going to share it. And then you're going to create 2 goals like that you have that are relevant to this change. And then you're going to work through the different questions regarding those goals. Okay. If you get stuck, if you have questions, this is again a great time to utilize the academic support team. As a reminder, you can find them right here by clicking on academic support. And as always, too, y'all, it is so important to make sure that you reach out and connect with your course instructor if you're ever stuck or have questions, okay? So when you click on academic support, it pulls up the menu of services. This written feedback area, if you have not used this yet, this is a great way for you to kind of have another set of thoughts on any of your writing assignments. What you want to do is upload and submit any of your drafts for assignments for written feedback. The key is being very specific and selecting the most important area you want the tutor to focus on. Don't just upload the assignment and be like, please review this for me and make sure it's good. That's not going to give you the targeted feedback that you want. But if you want them to specifically look at, like, am I staying on topic? Is my writing relevant? Am I writing in complete thoughts? Are my writing mechanics on par with how they should be? Things like that. Once you do that and you want to submit it, you will get that feedback within 12 hours. And if you need to kind of go back and forth a little bit with that tutor, you can too. So it's just a really great resource for you to utilize for your success, okay? So y'all, that's it. That is all I have for week 4, module 4. We are so excited for you. You again are officially crossing into that halfway point of the term. If you are stuck, if you have questions, do not hesitate to reach out to your course instructor. Also, you can always connect with your advisor. Please don't forget to send me an email or post in the IDS 104 learning community. Tell me something that you're super proud of this term, something that's going well, something you've learned. I want to hear those things from you. That's just your extra piece of things you can do this week. And just know we're super proud of you. So we sure hope that you are also very proud of yourself. You got this, y'all. Have a wonderful week 4.